Hi, it's Warren Hewitt here. Hope you're doing marvellously well. Now, some of you will have noticed that we've had this lovely gentleman here, Mr. David Mood, has been doing some Studio One tutorials for us. So,
Indeed.
How are you, David, by the way?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. David actually flew over from Austria to come to, essentially to come to my birthday party, which was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
It was a fantastic night.
There was a lot of wonderful people there.
I met a lot of cool and interesting people, including you.
Including me. Yes, the first time we'd actually met face to face.
Yes.
Everything else was the wonderful world of Skype. But more importantly, the studio was incredible.
It was fantastic. I love that you could just walk in and go to all live rooms, to all control rooms, and have a look at everything, touch the console. And
yeah, it was wonderful. And the studio was Sunset Sound.
Yes. And there was music playing in all studios, which was exactly recorded in that exact live room. It was
it was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So you'd go in there and you'd be like, oh, here's some Janis Joplin recorded in this room. Here's some Doors recorded in this room. Here's some Led Zeppelin recorded in this room. Here's some, the list goes on and on.
Prince, Purple Rain, everything.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was a great, great night. So thank you, Sunset Sound, for letting us do that.
Thank you very much.
So he's over here and he just completed a video for us. And this is one of my favorite topics, because I find one of the things that sometimes is sorely missing in a lot of great mixes is the subtleties, the automation, because compression and limiting can do wonderful things and get stuff loud and slamming. However, my favorite mixers, like Mark Ender, I talk about a lot. When Mark was mixing solely on a console, it was a lot of fun going to watch him mixing on a fully automated console because the faders were going nuts. Yeah. I mean, his vocal, the faders would be doing this literally the whole time, catching syllables, pushing them up, pulling down consonants that were too hard. And instead of like using a lot of compression, he was using a lot of volume automation. Now, let's be honest, it takes a bit of time because you're going in there and doing the work.
It does.
But the benefits are fantastic. You can use multiple compressors in small amounts and not get that choking effect, but nothing is as good as running volume automation. What Mark does actually, while I'm thinking about it, is he runs a lot of parallels. So with the parallel, you keep the consistent energy of the compression underneath, but the volume automated louder vocal keeps,
right.
So anyway, this is great because I know Pro Tools pretty well, but I don't know Studio One at all, let alone pretty well. So this is a fantastic video that you've done showing us all the volume automation points.
Well, this is a little bit more about like what I would call special effects automation.
Great.
Because you have several videos about like volume automation, what you just explained already, and you mentioned it in many other videos. And this is more about like adding some things which can add interest to your mix or excitement to your mix. It's nothing which you really need to have a great mix. So you need a solid mix first, where everything is balanced, everything is in place. It should work without any of the stuff which I'm showing in the video. The mix should work without any of that. But then you add on top some special things here or there, like adding movement to a sound or some special effect. And I think it can help to make like a very good mix, to raise it to be a very great mix.
Fantastic.
And maybe this can also help to stand out as you as a mixer, It is like your special ideas and creative ideas.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, we watched the video together a few days ago and it's really fantastic.
Oh, thank you very much.
I learned some stuff.
There you go.
Well, I mean, we talk about this all the time and we'll go to the video in a second, but I don't think anybody knows everything. Well, there are people that have opinions on everything. We know that, but I'm still learning every single day. And what I love about this community that we have online is everybody can help each other. There should be no egos. Should be nobody telling people off that they know best.
I love it that in the comments people help each other so much, and it's such a positive attitude compared to some other YouTube channels where people just fight each other all the time. It's produced like a pro. It's nothing like that. It's very positive.
Well, thank you ever so much.
Thank you very much.
Check out the video. We're going to do a lot more stuff with David. Also, there'll be links to other videos we've done with David, and have a marvelous time recording and mixing. Here it is.
All right, so here we are in Studio One. I'm using the same song here like I did in my last video about using saturation effectively. This song is called Good Lovin' by Robert John and the Rag. And of course, it was recorded and produced by Warren. And if you like to mix this song yourself, the files are available for download at Produce Like a Pro Academy. So if you'd like to mix it, you can go there and download the session files. Okay, so I have the first special effects kind of automation going on already in the intro. So let's have a listen to that. Okay, and so I think it's pretty obvious. So let's open our guitar folder here. And the intro is supplied by Guitar 2. And I have the automation going on a bass. This track is actually a bass. And because we have 3 audio tracks, the guitar got recorded with 2 microphones. So we have one microphone which is placed in front of the speaker, one behind the amp, and then when we have the eye. And these tracks are going to this bass, and I did all the automation on the bass to affect, of course, all 3 tracks at the same time. So let me zoom in a bit. We basically have 2 different ways of showing automation in Studio One. We can either cycle through the different automation envelopes or lanes here. So we have a volume automation, we have a send, which I'll explain in a second, and we have an automation for the pan, which was, I think, the most obvious to hear. But we can also click on this little icon here, which says expand envelopes, and then we can see all 3 automation lanes at the same time. And many times I actually prefer to work like this. Now let me say a few general words about this kind of automation before we have a look in detail what's going on here. So this song has very much a 70s vibe to it, but it also has a modern touch. And as a mixer, you can decide, or you have to decide, if you mix it more to sound like really a song in the 70s, or if you enhance the modern elements, or if you introduce even modern elements to it to make it sound a little bit more modern while still keeping the 70s vibe. Now, of course, this is a decision which should be made together with the artist. So, for example, if you're working for a client and you know that the client is more traditional, let's say this band, if you know that this band wants to have the mix basically sounding like they are standing on the stage and playing the song live, then these kind of things which I'm going to show you is probably not the right thing to do. But if it's a client who is a bit more open-minded to certain experiments or certain things like this, then you can introduce some fun stuff. So for this song, I decided that I wanted to make it a bit more modern sounding. And that's where these kind of automations can really help, because in my opinion, what we associate with modern sound is many times also automation. Because this is something which was not possible in the 70s or 60s. I mean, what you could do in real time, you had to do in real time. So, for example, if you wanted to have volume automations, then some people were standing at the console and writing the faders while they were doing the mix down in real time. And any other parameters like EQ changes or any changes on output gear also had to be manipulated in real time, of course. Now later in the 80s, I believe, motor faders got introduced into mixing consoles so that you could automate at least the volume faders. But of course, every other parameter still had to be manipulated in real time during the mixdown. Now, of course, digital audio workstations changed this completely, because now we can manipulate and automate basically every parameter of anything in the DAW, be it a plugin or a parameter of the DAW itself. And because we can, of course, many people also do it. And that's why I think that the sound of modern music is also very much influenced by this simple fact that you can automate so many things, and then people also do it. So you have evolving sounds over time and EQ, volume changes, and all this kind of fun stuff. So back to my point: if you want the song to sound more traditional, then don't do a lot of automation. Maybe just restrict yourself to volume rights. But if you want to give it a modern touch, then you can go in and have some fun with this. But a word of advice, of course, I still wouldn't go crazy on a song like this. I think it's best to restrict these kind of things to certain parts of the song. So in this case, I have it in the intro, which I'll explain here in a second. And then I have something at the end of the solo. And then I have in the third pre-chorus, which is twice as long as the other pre-choruses. There I also have some fun things going on. But otherwise, I'm just doing some basic automations like volume automations, which are not special effect kind of things. They are just to create balance. Okay, so let's dive right in. Let's zoom into this part. So the song starts with this freely played guitar swell, which then goes to playing the riff. I wanted to give it a little bit of movement and a little bit of special sauce. So first of all, I'm just doing a basic volume swell, which is just enhancing what the guitar player himself is doing. So it's going up in volume, then it stays consistent for this part. And then when the riff begins, I drop it down to the final volume level where I have it most of the song. Then we have here as the second thing, I have actually, if you open the mixer, I'm sending this guitar to a sound-noise microshift to give it a little bit of widening. And this is fitting very well to this intro part, to this floating part, to make it sound even more spacey and floating. So I have it here, the send level relatively high. But then this would be far too much for the riff. So when the riff begins, I'm dropping it. I'm dropping the send level because I don't want the guitar to sound chorused. I just want it to have a little bit of widening. But again, for the intro, it's very nice to increase this a little bit. And then finally, probably the most easy to hear thing is I'm doing pen automation to give the guitar a little bit of movement. So I'm starting on the right side of the panorama. I'm moving over to the left side, staying there, going back to right, and then quickly going back here to the left position at 50, which I keep for this riff. But then when the band comes in, right here, I'm moving further back to the left side to 74, because I wanted it to have on the left side already the guitar where it's gonna be throughout the song, but I wanted it to be a bit more center, because especially if you're listening on headphones or earbuds, which many people do these days, I think it's a bit irritating to hear a hard panned instrument without any other stuff. I mean, if you already have the whole band in, you can absolutely hard pan things. But because we only have the guitar here, I think it sounds a bit more pleasant to listen to in headphones if you don't have it hard panned. Okay, so that's one thing. Let's go back to the normal zoom. So the second thing which I did here, I have here a delay on the guitar in the intro. As always, there are many different ways to achieve the same thing in Studio One, but not only in Studio One, of course, in all DAWs. Basically, what I wanted to have here is an automated delay just on this riff before the band comes in, so that I don't have just the guitar on the left side, but I have something, as you can hear, on the right side as well, kind of like responding to this. So I experimented a lot with automating a delay and parameters, but I never could sound it quite right how I wanted. So in this case, I did it the really old school way. I simply cut out a small piece of the intro riff and then pasted it manually on the exact same spot where I wanted to be. Because the difficulty is here that this song got recorded without a click. So it's not recorded click, and that's why it's played very loosely, especially in the intro, where there is no drummer and no other players. So the guitarist is playing this freely. And if you would set a delay, the certain delay time, it wouldn't really fit with the guitar because the tempo of the guitar is changing ever so slightly over this intro riff. So by cutting it out and placing it by hand, I could put it exactly on the spot where I want it to be. So let's have a listen. So you can see if I switch this, if I mute this track, for me it feels a little bit empty. And then if you add this, it just adds a little bit more. Sometimes more is more. As you can see, I had here one repeat more in the first, but I muted it because when the guitar starts to play the riff, I wanted to really anchor this first beat of the guitar to really clearly hear, okay, guitar is there, it sounds clear. Have a listen, it sounds a little bit too washed if I have this first repeat as well. Did I say washed? I mean like diffused, whatever. I think you know what I mean. Okay, so have a listen. So you can see it's I very much like it, but the first one is too much. So I muted it. Just a tip for you Studio One users. If you have here on top at the toolbar, you can select an alternative tool for your main tool. So I have it usually on the mute tool. You can see it here on this blue line that it's selected, which means that if you have your main tool selected, the arrow tool, you can always press Control and just click on this event and it's muted. Or you could also choose one of the other tools, but I usually have it on mute so I can quickly mute and demute events. Now, in addition to that, I still put a delay on this manual delay track. So first of all, I have the Clamphelm compressor. This is the free version, fantastic plugin. Then I'm filtering the top and the high end, and I finally added the Waves H delay because I wanted to have a bit of feedback on this delay. But again, I wanted to have the precise timing like I set it up here. So again, one more time in context. And that's it. I mean, don't go overboard. I just did this for the intro, and this will not appear a single time anymore because enough is enough. Alright, so that's basically it for this guitar. I only did a minor thing here at the end. Just some volume automation. Have a listen. Can you hear these two notes? I guess played with palm muting. I'll play it for you in solo. I love this, so I wanted to bring it out just a tad more. So if I switch it off and listen to it, of course you can still hear it, but I wanted to increase this a bit. So I'm turning it up 2 dB, and that did the trick for me. And then going back to the level I had before. Oh yeah, one more minor thing. Here on these parts in the pre-chorus where the guitar is playing this, I again increased the send level to the Soundtoys Microshift to have this floating sound, and then dropping it down again. Okay, let's close our guitar folder and let's have a quick look here at percussion. You can see we have a tambourine and a shaker, which were recorded almost throughout the entire song. And What I did here again is not really automation, but for me, when I think about automation, I think about it's something that changes over time, or something which happens in certain parts of the song, but not in other parts of the song. And the way you achieve this doesn't really matter. In this part again, I simply did some muting, so you can see the gray parts here are muted, so that the first verse, the second verse, and the third verse all sound a bit different. I'm building it up a little bit. So in the first verse, I don't have the tambourine, I don't have the shaker. Then in the second verse, I'm only having the tambourine. To make it sound a bit different to the first verse. And then in the third verse, I'm having both the tambourine and the shaker. Treats me right, gives me all of her love and both daily and night. As opposed to having them on all the time. You know, just because you have this available to you, some tracks, it doesn't mean they have to be playing all the time. Unless you know for sure that the producer or the artist really want to have it all the time. Okay, next up is the guitar solo and this small part which I called interlude here. Where I only did one thing. I have a delay on the solo guitar. Let me find it quickly. There we have it. It's a quarter delay. And the feedback is set to 30 here, not a lot for the solo. But then at the end of the solo, I wanted it to ring out. So I increased the feedback just for the last few notes of the solo. So have a listen and watch this feedback knob here. So I set it here to around 51, which gives the feedback a length which stops right before or at the same time when the bass guitar starts playing again, which is exactly what I wanted. But of course, if I would leave the feedback so high all the time during the solo, that would make a complete mess out of it. So in this case, all I did was automate the feedback. I have actually an own automation lane for this here. And you can see here the feedback as it's going up. And then I'm dropping it back down to the more sane level, because to this delay I'm also sending the vocals, so this level is here for the vocals, and here I already increased it a little bit for the guitar solo, and then of course increased it quite a lot for just these last few notes. All right. Next up is a classic vocal effect before the vocal starts playing again in the third verse. Have a listen. It's a reverse reverb. I've got me a woman. I play it to you soloed. Now this is always makes for a very nice transition, and you've got to be a bit careful with it, of course, in such songs, not to overdo it. So I have it only this single time in the whole song. But I think it really creates a very smooth transition from this interlude to the third verse. And I don't want to go into too much detail how to create this effect, but maybe that would make a nice topic for another video. But I just wanted to show you one specific thing I did here. But just quickly, so you basically take the first vowel of the vocals, you copy it to another track, and you put a big reverb on it, and you put the mix to 100% wet, so you only have the reverb signal. Then you bounce the track down, so you render the effect into the audio file. Then you reverse it, And finally, I also put on this reverse reverb, actually one more reverb, because it sounds a little bit, how should I say? Sounds a little bit strange without it. Have a listen. I switch off this reverb, and let's. It's already soloed. Okay, let's have a listen. You can hear that sound doesn't sound really smooth. So if you put one more reverb on it, much nicer. Also in conjunction with the vocals. I've got me a woman who treats me right. So I love this plugin a lot. It's Valhalla Vintage Verb by Valhalla DSP. It's only $50, but it's basically one of the best reverb plugins on the market. And this preset, Randall Hall, I especially like. It's awesome for synth sounds, for example, that any kind of special effect like this, where you really want to have a long modulated reverb tail. And I like it so much that I like to put one instance of this on every mix I do. Of course, very carefully, because you can easily overdo it. But in this mix, I found a place for it. So that makes me always happy. So let's have a listen to it one last time. Oh, what I actually wanted to show you is the automation I did here on this PAN plugin. So basically this is a plugin which lets you enhance stereo width of signals. So what I'm doing here, and this is the kind of thing which I would really call ear candy. So it's very likely that maybe most of your listeners won't notice this at all, but maybe some listeners, maybe for 10 times, for the first 10 times they listen to the song, they will not notice this, but maybe then the 11th time when they listen to the song, they notice this and go, oh, that's nice. So this is really just ear candy, and of course you don't always have time for this stuff. But have a listen. So I am increasing the width of this reverse reverb to 200%. So I'm starting completely wide. And then as time progresses, I'm dialing back to completely mono, so to speak. So the signal goes from the left and the right side into the middle, where then of course also the lead vocals are. So it's basically like leading from left and right into the middle, where the lead vocals pick up. So have a listen and look at this width control here. And then it's at 0%. You can still hear it in stereo. That's because of the other reverb I put on it, which of course is in stereo. But this signal itself, let me play this without this plugin. So you can hear it's very wide, it's on the left and right side. And if I turn it on again with the automation, so again, it's very subtle, but this kind of things is really fun to do if you have the time. Of course, all this will not break or make your mix. You need to have a solid mix first, and then in the end you can think about adding such things here or there. Again, don't overdo it, but I think it was fitting for this part. Okay, so after that there is the third verse, and then comes this pre-chorus 3, which is twice as long as the other pre-choruses in the song. And here I have quite a bit going on. So let's have a listen from the end of the third verse to the pre-chorus and beginning of the chorus. Sweeter than honey, she don't want no silver, she don't take my money. She don't take my money. Don't take my money. Oh, so give me good loving. All right. So I really like this part a lot. it gives a really nice break before coming to the chorus and the outro, which of course are full with energy. And this is like the silence before the storm, as we say in German. I don't know if you have that in English. So a bit of calming down, and then we have the explosion in the end. So what have I done here? First of all, we have this keyboard part, which is playing. It's playing just an accompanying role throughout the whole song. So that's what it's doing most of the time. But then for this small part here, you can see I selected this event. For this small part, it's playing something different, namely. So I like this part a lot. It reminds me of Riders on the Storm by The Doors, which is one of my favorite songs by The Doors. I think I heard that first when I was 13 and 14, and I remember I spent a good part of an afternoon just listening to this song over and over again. And it has a bit different kind of e-piano line, but it really reminded me of that, and maybe the piano player was also thinking of that when he played this. So I really wanted to feature this. And for this small part, this is like, like you have a sideman on the stage where he's playing all the time and you don't really notice him. But then he has, for a small spot, the stage lights go on to him and he does something special for just a few seconds. And then all the lights go back, of course, to the lead singer, who is the star. But these are here the few seconds for a keyboard player. So I wanted to feature it. So first of all, again, what I did here is something which an alternative to automation, but which you can also do with automation. I used here an event effect, which means it's only affecting this event. It's the same what is a clip in Pro Tools. So I put the plugin just on this selected event. Now you can see that there is an effect on it on this small effects symbol. And if you click on it, you can access the plugin directly from here, which is very nice. It's a quite recent feature, Studio One. In the past, you always had to open the inspector, but now you can just click here and you can open the plugins directly. So I'm using the Soundtoys ZQ here, which is a fantastic EQ plugin. And it was free for a limited time, which is very generous of Soundtoys. I think now it costs $129 or so. So what I did here is I boosted at 5.6 a bit and a bit more here on the top end, which is I think at 18 kilohertz, but it has a very gentle curve, so it goes way down the audio spectrum until I think 2 or 3 kilohertz. So it affects a lot more frequencies than just 18 kilohertz. And I also added a little bit of drive. So I wanted to make this part sound a bit different than during the rest of the song. And then what else I have here? Of course, a volume boost. Let's zoom in on this part again. So I have a fairly high volume boost, which sounds way overboard if you listen in solo. It sounds too much, but actually in the mix, I think I needed this. You see, I can also dropping it down immediately after one bar, because it's just, you give the listener something to his ear. Hey, listen to this. Look at this, what I've got here. And then you can take down the volume immediately, and then the listener will be able to follow this part also with a low volume. So it's really sticking out for the moment. Take my money. And then going back where it was throughout the whole song. Then to give it a little bit of movement, I'm having a pen automation. So I'm starting on the hard pound right, and it slowly and gently goes to the left side, and then while it rings out, it goes back to its original position in the mix. And finally, this bypass is just controlling one plugin I have on this track, again, a dual pan, which I used to dial the pan of this, because this is a stereo track, and I wanted to have it more on the right side. I pan the left side a bit to the right, but of course, because I'm using the pan automation, I need to bypass this plugin, otherwise it just wouldn't work. So watch this bypass here. You can see it gets bypassed during this part. And then of course it gets activated again to put it on this position in the mix as it was before. Okay, and then what else I'm doing here? Let's have a look. Let's close this. So on the lead vocals are repeating the same line here 3 times. Have a listen.
She don't want no silver, she don't take my money. She don't take my money.
This was second time. And then one more time here.
She don't take my money.
So what I'm doing here, I am doing 2 opposite things. So for the lead vocals, I'm bringing them completely in the foreground by first reducing the effects on it for the second line, and then completely removing it for the third time. So if you listen in solo, this was the first time, like it's the effects, the same volume like always in the song.
She don't want no silver, she don't take my money.
Then I'm reducing all the effects on the vocals a bit.
Don't take my money.
And finally, just for this line, turning everything completely off, so it's bone dry.
She don't take my money.
And with the background vocals, I'm doing the opposite. So I'm putting, just for this part, again a large hole, again the Randall hole for this part, so that the background vocals get pushed to the background and create this pad-like atmosphere in the background, but at the same time the lead vocals are coming forward. So have a listen.
She don't take my money. She don't take my money.
Maybe have a listen just to the background vocals. And then together with the lead vocals.
She don't take my money.
And then the whole part with everything in.
She don't take my money. She don't take my money.
So the way I achieve this, I have the lead vocals here. If you look at these 3 cents, then you can see what's happening. So I have a slapback delay on the vocals called Vox Slap, a plate reverb, a quarter delay, and I also have here called H3000. These are tracks from an Eventide H3000, which I'm also reducing. So you can watch these 3 cents here and also this fader. You can see less.
Don't take my money.
And then for this part, this will go down to 0. And here is everything turned off.
Don't take my money.
In the arrangement, it looks like this. Where we got it? Here. So you can see we have the 2 send levels of the delay and the reverb. And one more send level of the, I think, the Vox, the slapback delay. And then here we have a volume automation. You can see on these tracks which are used for pitch shifting the vocals, for vocal thickening. So here we got less, and then we have nothing here in this part. Alright, now finally I'd like to show you an even easier way to achieve what I have done here, like automating all the sends of the different effects, which I used for 2 other parts in the song, namely the first and the second pre-chorus, where of course we have the same line, but only one time because these are just half as long. So I again reduced all of these effects for this line, but not as much as in this part I showed you before. And here the goal is not to have some special effect kind of thing. It's just to basically, you want the vocals to sound the same as when you hear it with the band. And when the band makes a break, and if you would leave all the effects at the same volume, then they would sound much too pronounced. So it would be a bit overbearing. So have a listen here. I will solo the vocals. So this part is with the whole band.
Don't want no silver, she don't take my money.
And then I'm here.
She don't take my money.
Taking down everything by 3 dB or so. And it's very fast to achieve this. In this case, I set up a VCA fader. So I set up a VCA fader, which lets you control the volume of individual tracks. So if you click here, you can see what it's assigned to. So it's assigned to my pitch shift vocal tracks, the quarter delay, the slapback delay, and the plate reverb. So the benefit of this is I'm only having to do the automation one single time on this VCA fader. You can see it here in the range view. So it goes down by 3.2 dB, and the same again here in the second pre-chorus. And then these effects, this single track effects, 4 tracks at the same time. So this is a very fast way. To set up such an automation. I'll just show you how this works. So you basically select the tracks you want, and then right-click and select Add VCA for selected channels. And now you could control with this fader. You see both faders on the left of this. Let's put it back to 0. And in this case, again, I'm controlling this track here, this one, and this one, and also my pitch shift tracks. So watch these 4 tracks I have highlighted here, and also you can watch this VCA fader. They will all do the same thing, but of course in relation to where their volume was before. So this is going down 3.2 dB, and of course this got added or subtracted from the value which you have here. So I'll just play it and you see.
Don't take my money. She don't take my money.
And that's it. Then everything goes back to normal. So this is an alternate way of achieving the same thing which I did here in the last pre-chorus. It's just much quicker to do. And finally, one tip, you can apply this automation to all the individual tracks very easily by simply right-clicking here on the VCA fader track and selecting Merge VCA Automation. So what this does is, for example, if you have a look here on this track, you can see here grayed out this automation. This is exactly the indication that this track, the volume, is controlled by the VCA fader. So if you now select here Merge VCA Automation, then look what happened here. The automation on the VCA fader actually disappeared, but we have now the automation here on this track and also on all the other tracks where the VCA fader was assigned to. So now we could actually also delete the VCA fader because now we have the automation baked into the individual tracks themselves. Alright, that's it for now. I hope this video gave you some new ideas which you maybe could try out in one of your next mixes.
So thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed that. Please check out David's other Studio One videos for us, and we are going to be doing a lot more, and actually we'll do a whole series of videos for you. So thank you ever so much. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. Thanks, David.
Bye.